This Saturday's UFC main event sees Cory Sandhagen taking on Deiveson Figueiredo, and I want to make the case that Cory Sandhagen is a terrible matchup for Figueiredo. In this technical breakdown video, I've picked out 3 aspects of this fight, how I see it unfolding. We're going to be breaking down fight clips, and hopefully you agree with me by the end of the video that Cory Sandhagen should win this one. And I know that I don't have a crystal ball, and as hard as it might be to believe, I don't always get these picks right, but I'm really confident in this one. So stick around to the end of the video, see if you agree with me, and I'll end with a very specific prediction. Hello guys, and welcome back to Alex on MMA. I'm really looking forward to this bantamweight main event this weekend. I feel like there's been very little promo going into it, so I'm not expecting many views on this video at all, but the more film study that I've been doing, looking at Cory Sandhagen's recent fights and Deiveson Figueiredo's recent fights, the more convinced I am that this is Sandhagen's fight to lose. I did make a video a while back that gave a caveat, I guess, to my prediction for this video, saying that Sandhagen is his own worst enemy in that he lacks sometimes that drive just to go through the gears when it's a close fight. For whatever reason, he seems to lack that ability, or he's just not shown the ability when the going gets really tough, or it's a really close matchup against elite level opposition in the bantamweight division. He just falls short. So I think if Cory Sandhagen is at his best and he really is prepared to dig deep, because Figueiredo could make him dig deep, I do think this is Sandhagen's fight to lose. But anyway, I want to get straight into the clips. I'm going to start with the good stuff. I'm not going to do that thing where you save the best clips till the end of the video. We're going to take a look at a couple of Cory Sandhagen's highlight finishes and why I think that Deiveson Figueiredo is the perfect candidate to walk into one of these. And by the way, when Cory Sandhagen is firing, he is one of the best fighters to watch here. But I wanted to pull up this clip with him against Marlon Moraes. And as you can see here, he throws an inside low kick with very little setup, and Cory Sandhagen's one of those fighters who downloads a lot of information. He threw an inside low kick with very little intent on it, and you can see Marlon Moraes just backing up. Have I got the pen? Yeah, Marlon Moraes just backing up in a straight line with both arms down, and this is a really good thing for Cory Sandhagen to read, and he acts upon it almost immediately. So let's keep it playing through. So you can see almost with Cory Sandhagen's little look in his face there where he just touches his nose. It's like he's read something there from Marlon Moraes. Let's keep it playing through. And now he shifts his weight onto that thing, and Joe Rogan's going to say he's loading up his hips for a switch kick. But at the same time, showing that hip might have indicated a switch kick or another inside low kick. So let's see what Moraes does this time. So Moraes does back up in a straight line again. However, in fairness to him, he does get his hands up. But the force and the accuracy of that spinning wheel kick just cracks him on the top of the head there. Beautiful technique. And even though, in fairness to Moraes, Sandhagen was probably expecting his hands to be down as he was backing up in that straight line, but he just eats that wheel kick. And that's the end of the show. Possibly if Moraes had angled off at that point, he'd have been able to avoid the worst of that. But this is a habit that I've seen in Deiveson Figueiredo as well. If you look at this clip, I'm going to use a lot of the clips from the Petr Yan fight, because I always find that fighters' most recent fights are obviously the best place to look when you're doing fight analysis. So if we take a look at this, and watching this fight back, it does tell you just how good Deiveson Figueiredo is. But Petr Yan was just on another level that night. But he is a bit reckless and he gets involved in exchanges. And I'm just showing you a left kick to the body here by Petr Yan. And the reaction to Deiveson Figueiredo. Obviously, that's it's a heavy body kick that he's just eaten there. But Deiveson Figueiredo, in a similar way, he doesn't angle off. A lot of the time, he shows hesitancy, backing off in a straight line with his hands down like this. This is a real quick example that I did find of this, but I have seen it in other fights as well. In the Brandon Moreno fights, he did this a lot, and he got caught with a lot of shots by doing this. He gets his guard up eventually, but against fighters who do get the guard back really quick, and I'm just going to play this through because I'll be honest with you, any excuse to show this. Petr Yan's trip. So he steps in there, looks as though he's going for a shot, and you can see Deiveson Figueiredo raises up his left hand. This is a real tangent, but when you've got the opportunity to show a Petr Yan trip, you take it at any given opportunity. And it's a beautiful, beautiful trip there. Looks as though he's going for that right hand, steps through, trips Deiveson Figueiredo, and that is how you end a round. And he won that round off the back of that. But the point is that, like Marlon Moraes, Deiveson Figueiredo has a tendency to back up in straight lines at times. When he's really caught in the fire, his angles are really nice in the pocket. He can move around. But when he's fighting at range, moving in and out, when he moves out, he has a tendency to have his hands down and he can get caught by shots. And as we just saw by Marlon Moraes, Cory Sandhagen doesn't need much of an excuse to start throwing some spinning shit. And that could happen in this fight. Okay, so I've got no idea how close I am to convincing you that Cory Sandhagen has the edge in this fight. The odds have him as a massive favourite. But again, it's not the technical side of Cory Sandhagen I'm worried about. It's if it is a close competitive fight where Deiveson Figueiredo is playing up to the judges, waves his hands in the air when he lands good shots and his team go crazy. Can Cory Sandhagen win those kind of close fights at the top end of the division? I'm not too sure. But anyway, let's move on. As you can see in this fight clip between Frankie Edgar and Cory Sandhagen, the height difference is extremely noticeable. Cory Sandhagen, very tall bantamweight. Frankie Edgar, a very short fighter, but he used to use that shortness to his advantage. There'll be a similar height difference on Saturday night with Figueiredo against Sandhagen. I know that their reach, will be very similar because Deiveson Figueiredo has longer arms for his height and Sandhagen has fairly short arms. But Sandhagen uses his height really well for the techniques that he uses. He can get teeps off, kicks off that Figueiredo won't be able to reach. And as you can see here, Frankie Edgar pays the ultimate price by being the shorter fighter and dipping his head and eats a beautiful flying knee from Cory Sandhagen. One of the knockouts that put Sandhagen on the map in the bantamweight division. I say that, he was already ranked number 2 at this point. Sandhagen's been a great fighter for so long. But this knockout 4 years ago now is one that people don't forget about. A really, really clean technique that can only be done against either a shorter fighter or someone who dips their head really low. And Deiveson Figueiredo is actually both of those things, as we're about to see here. At the same time, one of the things that has given Figueiredo so much success in his career, he became a unified champion at flyweight, is because of his willingness and his desire to enter the fire, fight in the pocket, really knuckle down and start swinging. But this could be his undoing in this fight. Against Petr Yan, they're both equal height. They're both very good in the pocket. It was amazing to see some of the exchanges. But Cory Sandhagen just brings different weapons. So let's take a look at this fight from Figueiredo against Yan again. So we're into round 3 in this fight. And Petr Yan closes the range looking for some strikes. Deiveson Figueiredo had already taken him down at this point, which is an angle we might explore about the fight on Saturday night. And it looks as though Figueiredo may be going for a level change there or a body shot, probably a level change. And he just eats an uppercut from Petr Yan. Now, if you're looking back at the clip we just saw of Frankie Edgar and Cory Sandhagen, imagine if Figueiredo gets down to this level against Cory Sandhagen, the outcome could be an absolute disaster for him. And he doesn't even need to go that low for Sandhagen to get him. It was just really risky. I know that maybe takedowns might be part of his plan against Sandhagen. I know that Sandhagen does have good wrestling, but he can get taken down. And that uppercut from Yan, I don't know if you can say it really dropped him. As you can see, it may have stunned him. And then the pressure to the back of his head pushing him down. That missed. That uppercut could have taken his head clean off. That uppercut missed. But even so, the point that I want to make is that it's very risky behaviour. If Deiveson Figueiredo is going to go lunging in, lower his level, whether it's going for a body shot or a takedown, he needs to be really careful of the weapons coming back his way. At the same time, what I just said before then, about this is one of the things that got Figueiredo to the title shot, winning the belt a couple of times at 125. This is what he does. He shows the grit, he gets involved in the firefights, and most of the time he comes out with his hands raised. And the problem with Cory Sandhagen is we don't really know if he can get himself involved in these firefights. I'm not denying his toughness. Any UFC fighter is going to be a tough guy. But to me, it's more about when the fights are close and you really need to look good in the judges, dig deep, and just for the last 10 seconds of a round, show something off and win that round. Can Cory Sandhagen do that this weekend? That's what we're going to find out. I've really rattled through the clips in this video, but as you can see there, Figueiredo's habit is to lower his level and get stuck in a firefight. And his tendency to be a bit hesitant when he's moving in and out of range with not the most defensively responsible guard. These are perfect things for Cory Sandhagen's game. And I've actually saved the best to last for those who aren't yet convinced. This is, again, round 3 with 30 seconds to go in this fight, so a little bit later on than the last clip. Figueiredo doesn't even really lower his level that much, but he looks at the ground, never the best place to be when you've got against an explosive fighter like Petr Yan, who lands a flying knee. Now, Deiveson Figueiredo has a solid chin, even better now that he's at bantamweight. So can you see Cory Sandhagen stopping him? That's the biggest question in this fight. Or is it? The other big question that we have to ask is whether Deiveson Figueiredo will utilise his wrestling more in this fight. In the fight against Petr Yan, heading into that fight, he did say that he didn't want to waste any time. He wanted to get Petr Yan down and submit him. There were still question marks over Petr Yan's confidence after the Merab fight. I know that he came back with a win after that. But taking a look at this fight, I'm not too convinced that Figueiredo will be able to take him down with much success and submit him. Cory Sandhagen's a very underrated grappler. As you can see here, Umar Nurmagomedov trips him up there. And Sandhagen wastes absolutely no time getting back to his feet. In this fight, there was a lot of scrambling on the ground, a lot of moving around. But Sandhagen is a difficult guy to take down. And even if Figueiredo is able to take him down, it's so difficult to keep him down. Cory Sandhagen's first principle is to get back to his feet. He doesn't waste too much time trying to threaten submissions off his back or anything like that. He wants to get back to his feet. And currently, with the rule set being that they consider damage as more important than anything else, Figueiredo isn't going to score very well by just taking Sandhagen down if Sandhagen immediately gets back up to his feet and starts piecing him up from range. So I really see the path to victory for Deiveson Figueiredo to be very limited in this fight. I'm saying all this with such confidence. I know that I'm going to watch this on Saturday night and see all my credibility going down the drain, but I did say the caveat that Sandhagen needs to be at his best because he needs all these best weapons firing on all cylinders to beat a tough fighter like Deiveson Figueiredo. Figueiredo's a champion. I've no doubt that he couldn't go back down to 125 and have a very competitive match with Pantoja. He's beaten him before. He could do it again. I think Figueiredo doesn't have so much to lose in this fight compared to Sandhagen. Sandhagen can't afford another elite level loss at bantamweight. Anyway, guys, that's it for the technical breakdown. I hope I've made my case fairly compelling. I think that I have. I just think that Sandhagen's best weapons are perfect against a fighter like Deiveson Figueiredo. Let me know what you guys think. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.